Going live.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or Ragin 2 Promotion.
Our entire lives have been conditioned for that great early morning hustle, the slog of waking up Monday through Friday just to greet the day as if it were something we wanted to experience. One thing that has remained consistent, the light at the end of the tunnel, Saturday. For many now, it's to sleep in, but when we were kids, it was the one day we beat the sun up. Maybe with a large helping of sugary crack mixed in milk, we plopped ourselves in front of the TV to digest the sugary colors of the weekly animated stories, promising us laughs, hopes, and dreams. These are the things that made the week better and perhaps gave the strength for the next 5-day slog. The Saturday morning craze was enough to sprinkle a bit of happiness over your childhood and maybe inspire you to exercise your imagination. So let's go see what the panel remembers, and most importantly, what they forgot about Saturday morning cartoons, right now on Dispatches from Outside the Box.
In the spaces, things exist. In the lines that form the network of your mind. Behind the retinas of imagination are the particles and peripherals that made you who you are. Turn off, shut your eyes, and listen. Dispatches from outside the box.
All right. Welcome to the show that scours the corner of geekdom to inspire you to create outside the box. I'm C Michael Lanning, independent artist and host here on Dispatches from Outside the Box. And of course, if you can't guess it, we're talking about Saturday morning cartoons. So let's go to our panel and get into it. Randy.
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I'm a longtime alternative and independent comics creator, publisher, everything. I've done so much in this business, just about everything that you can imagine, coordinated conventions for over a decade, retailed for over a decade, did all sorts of stuff. And now I'm here on the Indie Comics Network, doing a few shows a week and still working on doing sequential art. I'm working on a book right now of my last year's worth of COVID experience, being on the respirator and learning how to do everything all over again. So it'll be a funny book.
Sounds like it. All right. Mitch, go ahead and let us know who you are.
All right. I'm Mitch.
I just let you in because I'm not, go.
Okay. I'm Mitch Rogers. I'm the creator, writer, artist, publisher of the Boger horror comic book series. This is the second volume, Southern Gothic. It's out. It's officially out at the end of the month. 14-year veteran of the indie comic scene, South Carolinian. Cool dude.
All right.
There you go.
I concur.
And cool dude. Yep.
All right. Jared, go ahead and
Jared.
introduce yourself.
I am Jared. I'm a pop culture nerd. There's a lot I don't know and a lot that I do know. I love Saturday morning cartoons. I don't wake up for them much anymore because I stream them whenever I want.
I don't think there's any more out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even have cable anymore, so I
It
don't
doesn't
know.
even have to be Saturday morning anymore. It could be any morning for that matter.
Yeah,
so.
I stream it on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, you're an
2:30.
adult. You can watch them whenever you want.
That's
There you
damn
go.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully I get to remember some stuff. I was telling the guys earlier that there's something I don't remember, and I didn't. I found out about it in my 20s, and I'm like, no, that didn't exist. I found out a lot about it, so hopefully we get to talk about it. So,
All right.
What was that?
Starhawk or Silverhawks.
Silverhawks. Ah, yes.
Gosh. And of course, somebody who knows a lot about Saturday morning cartoons, Mr. John Celestri. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, just to repeat what C just said, I'm John Celestri. I've been a professional 2D animator since the early 70s, working on He-Man, She-Ra, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace. I animated the first appearance of Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special. Worked on a whole bunch of Saturday morning cartoons, so we'll get to talk about it. And at present, I am creating my own comic books. I have a Kickstarter, and the third book in the Bloodwing Angel Chronicles series is available now, and for crowdfunding on Kickstarter. So
All right. Yes.
here we are.
There you go. All right. Let's say hello to the chat real quick. We got
Born to
Carl,
be
little Carl. And of
Hello,
course,
Carl.
Donna.
Donna,
Time.
hello.
And thank you so much, Donna. Donna's been out there sharing us like crazy. So we get a
Sweet.
special
you,
thank you.
Donna. Carl knows what I had for breakfast this morning.
Well, there you
What's
can
up?
watch whatever you want. Have cake
I
for
have never
breakfast.
had cake for breakfast, but now I want to.
Well, that's
There we
what,
go.
look. It's
Really?
healthy. It's got eggs.
Have you ever
Really?
had-
Yeah,
Milk.
Have you ever had cold pizza for breakfast?
I have. I have.
Yes, I have woken up drunk before too.
Yes.
It was the last piece of delicious chocolate fudge cake, and somebody had to take that hit. So I
Cold
decided it was me
pizza?
for breakfast. Yeah.
Cold pizza and hair of the
Cold
dog.
pizza.
So
There's something about cold pizza though. It doesn't turn you off. It's like yeah,
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah, I'm
It was
telling you.
great. When you're 16 years old, that works.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
Saturday morning, especially.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can watch some cartoons while you're eating cold pizza.
Sunday
With-
mornings.
Maybe
at
a
the
little drunk.
Chicago. Sunday mornings at the Chicago Comic Con. We used to get pizza from Giordano's, which it wasn't really pizza; it was cake.
Yeah.
Thick, it was cake. And after having it set all night, it coagulated into a nice orange, great taste. So yeah, we look forward to Sunday mornings. Didn't go to the regular breakfast, just had pizza.
and you built your immunities up too. So
Absolutely.
I bet, right? So it could be. All right.
Kept
So I
the
guess we'll
cons
start.
right away.
We'll kind of start trying to get into this with. I don't want to ask you what's your first Saturday morning cartoon because I don't remember it, and I doubt a lot of us would. But what's the first cartoon that you remember wanting to get up and watch in the morning? We'll start from the bottom, John.
Okay. My memory is there was some old. It was the Warner Brothers cartoons. We would have those. Before Saturday Saturday morning cartoons. There were kiddie shows that would go that would start about 7:30 in the morning, weekdays. Okay,
Yeah.
and I would watch those I would watch the Sandy Becker show with the Warner Brothers cartoons, and that would get me going. I had my breakfast, and then I'd go and I'm literally talking about being 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. That's when they had that, and this is the early 50s. And so I'd be able to have my breakfast, watch some cartoons for a half hour, and then go to school, walk down the street to PS 163 in Brooklyn, and that would be starting my day 5 days a week.
There you go.
Yep.
Let me see. I want to pull this up
Yeah.
because I know we were talking about Sandy Becker before the chat.
Yeah.
And so this was a variety show, kind of like the was it a variety show? Or was it kind of like Captain Kangaroo and?
Oh, good Lord! Captain Kangaroo was a total.
Oh yeah.
This was the cool guy. Andy Becker was the cool guy, and he could do all kinds of stuff. He had his puppet shows. He would do all kind of mimicking, and this was all spur on the ad libs in half the times. He'd be doing a chocolate drink commercials.
Ooh.
And they'd be talking for it'd take about a minute and it would be a monologue about what's so good about your chocolate milk and so on and so forth. And the whole thing was very unscripted at times because they'd be doing these. Some of these personalities would be on, let's say, a channel, a local channel, and they'd be doing like 5-6 hours of programming a day.
And this was before the Saturday morning cartoon,
Yes,
as we know it. Yeah.
Yes, because actually, what we know, and I'm sorry, I guess this is good to lead into your Saturday morning experiences. That because that you didn't have Saturday morning because it wasn't organized that way yet.
Right. Yeah.
And so what you wound up was a lot of the Popeye cartoons. They were sold in bunches to TV. Okay, the Popeyes, the Paramount, the
Looney Tunes,
Cherry Tunes,
Merry Melodies.
and Disney held on to their own. Okay, that was that. But the shows during the week all used those cartoons that were now sold to their network, or it was syndicated, so allowed to use that. It wasn't until Hanna-Barbera did Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw, the Flintstones. All those were prime time shows that night, once a week. And after that they started, by I'd say the early 60s is when they kicked into Saturday morning on the networks.
Well, see, that prompts a question then. Is that why we can see the ads where Fred Flintstone's over here smoking the Pall Malls?
Yep.
Yes.
Because they're in prime time.
Winston.
Surely they were playing that at Saturday morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know they had that.
Anyway,
back then.
by that time, I was
Stone Age.
when I was like 10 years old. My dad would send me off to the candy store to buy him some cigarettes. So
When they had,
I
like-
didn't have a mustache back then, so you could still tell I was 10 years old.
You shave it off now, you might look 10.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah, that's when they had them in a little fish jar for like 10 cents each.
What?
Mustache.
Cigarettes
Oh, cigarettes.
That would be a 10 cent. That was a pack.
for 10 cents. Okay.
Yeah.
Not only
You're
a
thinking that when
pack,
you were
but
younger.
most of those packs had trading cards in the back of them too. They're
Of the
collector
cigarette
cards.
packs?
Yeah,
Really?
Like what
Well,
kind of
baseball
that's where
cards
trading
are-
cards started. Yeah,
Baseball cards were that.
They came with gum.
No, first came the
it wasn't even it wasn't even sports stars. It was airplanes. It was anything that was male orient, pretty much male oriented. There was a little card. The old cigarette packs used to be wrapped in cellophane,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they just
Little
stick
pinup
a card
girls, too.
between the pack and the cellophane.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Huh?
my
That's
dad
crazy.
used to have a whole cheese box full of them. I don't know what.
That's
I
crazy.
think my brother ended up with them actually. So
We'll end up doing the show on trading
I got
cards.
his
and really
I
kinda
got
get
his
into
big
that.
little books. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. How about you, Randy? What was your
The earliest for me, well, like John said, we had local hosts, cartoon hosts up here. We had Hassan Stuff, which was a guy dressed up as a sea captain who talked to a horse hand puppet. And they introduced a bunch of cartoon shows. And then there was a local fast food chain up here, just as McDonald's was coming in, called Mr. Hot Dog. And Mr. Hot Dog had his own show for a few years. And there'd be like little skits, almost like what you would see with the horror hosts, little goofy skits going on, and then with cartoons spliced in between it. So, and then
but a hot dog.
exactly. You know, he wasn't a hot dog though. He had a
Oh,
football helmet on, and he dressed up like a superhero and ran around and did stupid, silly things. I remember him getting caught in a phone booth one time. But
That seems like
that was a long time ago. But early morning for me, real early in the morning during school days was Thunderbirds, the Super Marionation show I used for my opening for the Zimcast quite often because it's a fond memory from my youth. And then in the afternoons at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if we were lucky enough to get over to the neighbor's house who had a much larger antenna than us, they could pick up the independent station out of Detroit, Channel 50, and we'd sit and watch through a haze of static, the old Marvel cartoons. Until they showed up. Until they showed up early on Saturday mornings, they'd run the entire block of characters on Saturday morning. I think it replaced Haas and stuff, honestly, on the NBC affiliate here. But that was back when we had 3 stations and PBS was just starting to come in.
Oh yeah.
You know, and there were little independent stations around there, like Channel 50 out of Detroit, that had all the best cool programming. You know,
yeah, those 3 stations were Saturday morning cartoons livelihood, really.
Oh yeah, and we used to live for around September. We'd start scouring through the comics because the comics would always have a 2-page splash ad early about what like the CBS or the ABC Saturday morning lineup was going to be, because they wanted all the kids to know so that they could be ready. You know, that's where where I saw Space Ghost for the first time. I got introduced to the Fantastic Four that way. Spider-Man, you know, all of those great Alex Toth superhero characters that nobody uses anymore unless they want to poke fun at him, like Birdman and Herculoids and
Spider-Man and Friends. Was it the one with Human Torch and
Oh no, not at all.
Okay,
this
that
was
was later,
Spider-Man.
right?
Yeah,
This is in the
the one with the
60s.
really bad opening song that burns into your brain. Yeah.
Well, who was the female
Firestar
Firestar? Right.
Yeah. That came much later.
in the 80s. Yeah, about 82.
Yeah, it was Iceman in Firestar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had run a Fantastic Four cartoon about that time. They had to replace the Human Torch with Herbie the Robot because they didn't want
Oh,
kids
that makes
lighting
sense.
themselves on fire, because all of a sudden they were getting sensitive about it. Even though there was a couple of years of awesome Fantastic Four cartoons with the regular Fantastic Four by Hanna-Barbera that was just phenomenal. Great
Nobody
stuff.
was setting themselves on fire.
Nobody was setting themselves on fire then. No, not at all.
I
But
guess we must have been a lot smarter than
Or fireproof.
So you're saying you didn't know any kids that set themselves on fire?
I knew you don't hit yourself with a hammer. You know,
Yeah.
I knew that you didn't, burn your finger. You know, I mean, it's
Flame on!
yeah, that's right.
None of us knew what an anvil was back then anyway, unless we saw it on Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, the opportunity was there because you were going to buy cigarettes, so eventually you could have a lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
All the-
Yeah,
Yeah, how many kids' fathers were a blacksmith? You know what I mean?
exactly.
I'm going to zigzag a little bit here. Mitch, tell us about your.
Just kept looking for the Acme catalog though. That was never did find one.
I've always wondered why Wile E. Coyote never sued Acme, because their products never worked.
You think? I'm telling you, it sounds like a Harvey Birdman episode. Is what it sounds like. It might be a Harvey Birdman episode.
My first one is real special to me. Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the '87 one.
What
That
a great
was-
theme song.
Oh yeah, that really that's probably the one thing that really got me into most of the stuff I like, from cartoons, comics, everything was Ninja Turtles.
Well, that was a good time because you had the Ninja Turtle TV show, and then you had the movie was coming out,
Oh yeah,
which really wasn't related to what each other.
yeah. The movie was more of the comic series
Yeah.
influence than the.
Yeah, they were kind of happening around the same time. It was like lightning in a bottle. But that again, and that's another IP or whatever. That's a whole
There
nother
was
show on
Yeah.
its own.
the big thing about Turtles though were those Playmate toys. Those were amazing.
Oh yeah,
Just incredibly done.
yeah.
And if it wasn't for the
And durable.
Oh yeah.
They were durable, yeah.
Very durable.
Yeah, I knocked a few people upside the head with those things. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jared, what about we know that it's not Silverhawks.
No. Well, I would have been a little older in that one, but
or probably Black Star. That was a great show.
No, I don't know that one either.
But
Mm.
that's the one.
Stuff
That's
to
another
look
one
up,
where he
kids.
ends up in another. Is that the one where they cross dimensions? And he goes. The bad guy comes to our dimension, and he goes to the other dimension.
It was a Western that actually featured the first lead African American lead
Okay.
in cartoons.
So racist to call it Black Star.
Not back
Well,
then.
that's
That's
back when every
whole
black
different
character
context.
was, you know.
There you go.
I was cutting. That was incredibly risk
Waiting to hear
taking
Nita's
for them.
voice.
It only lasted a year. So yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Jared. We know it's not
Uh,
Black Star. We know it's not Silverhawk. So
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on it already. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was the
Oh, really?
first
Okay.
that I remember wanting to wake up for. I was disappointed they didn't have any toys for it. So that and Super Friends,
oh yeah.
were on around the same time, and I had to have all the Superpowers toy line. I had to have them all,
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
That great Ted Knight narration on there. Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice.
yeah, that was
Also an
incredible.
Alex
Brilliant.
I
Toth,
did not realize that was
Toth
Ted Knight.
cartoon.
Yeah, the Toth
Oh,
did
yeah.
all the storyboards for that. Yeah, or
Yeah,
not
I
storyboards, the
love-
character sheets for that. Yeah.
I really need Alex Toth art books in my life because
Mm-hmm.
when I saw his Black Canary,
Mhm.
I fell in love, man.
Mhm.
His designs and drawings for that, it was amazing.
Mhm.
I
Well,
gotta
he
have it.
had done so much animation, and he was a grumbly curmudgeon at that point, and he figured anybody working on animation doing fill-ins were the stupidest people on the face of the earth. So he trimmed all of these characters down to just bare quick draw characters, and he did a whole line of superheroes: Space Ghost, Mitor, Herculoids. Amazing imagination, just crazy stuff. And that all sprung out of Hanna-Barbera doing Johnny Quest. We mentioned off camera, they just celebrated the 54th year of Johnny Quest. Johnny Quest started out as a primetime cartoon on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And then they ended up moving that to the mornings, but they only did one season of that show because they were getting paid X amount per episode. They were getting paid the same amount per episode to do Saturday morning cartoons.
You say
So
one season, but back then wasn't it like 50 episodes?
26.
26. Okay.
20.
Yeah.
So they shut Johnny Quest down and started doing Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound because they could kick those out 2, 3, 4 times faster.
Oh yeah.
And then Alex Toth comes in and says, well, doesn't really say, but they start pitching ideas, and they do an entire line of superheroes that are mostly, pretty hardcore violent. The stories on those are real, very formula, very basic, but they were a lot of fun. And the character designs were incredible because, like I said, Toth could strip everything down to just bare bones.
Yeah.
He ended up doing the design work
Less
for
is more.
Hanna-Barbera for many years. Yeah.
But you said something interesting. You're talking about these cartoons being at prime time, and for us, coming up, being Saturday morning cartoons,
Mhm.
they were mostly regulated to just being kid stuff.
Yeah.
And I can't, and that's not the reason why they went to Saturday morning. They went to appeal to kids, sure, but like the primetime stuff. So they were making stuff at that time. I'm not sure Johnny Quest is the same way.
And the ratings on those shows were really good. ABC begged Hanna-Barbera for a second season of Johnny Quest, and they said no because we're making so much money on Saturday morning.
That's it. Yeah.
So they made the conscious choice to shut that down, even though the ratings on that show were incredibly high.
Well, they with Hanna-Barbera, I mean, it came from hunger having to do doing a TV animation because they were directing all the Tom and Jerry's at MGM, and MGM shut down the studio, their studio. Same thing was happening with Warner Brothers. A lot of those things, a lot of those places, that were your big, strong TV animation houses were a direct result of people having to migrate from the theatricals to someplace, and it wasn't commercial. But so what Hanna-Barbera did was they pitched the Rough and Ready, which was they did a very, it's called planned animation, okay, not just limited, it's planned for reuse and what have you. So it was a limited amount of drawing, but there was a lot more thought put into it. So with that, then once they got rough and ready, and they got really good, and it was at nighttime. You know, it was like at 7 o'clock at night, 7:30, and that was the family hour. I mean, everything was family hour, but that was the thing. You know, I could, as an 8-year-old and 9-year-old, I could watch it. You know, and that was the focus. Then they did Huckleberry Hound. Then they did Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah, sorry, John, but didn't they refine that technique on Flintstones though? Flintstones ran for quite a few years at night, didn't it?
No.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. First comes Hannibal. First comes Rough and Ready. Then comes Huckleberry Hound. Then Quick Draw McGraw, Yogi Bear.
Mm-hmm.
You have those things going. Then all the other stuff, and then
Look at the biscuit.
Hey, yes, that's right. So anyway, then they decided to do something more mature because they were aimed at the young kids. Then they did basically the Honeymooners, you know, as that family. So that's what they did, and that's how they refined everything. Remember those guys, but this is I think 1959 or 1960 for the Flintstones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, those guys, the animators who were working on all those shows, they had huge, you know, creative muscles and animation. They knew how to do good stuff simply, so everything worked. Because you didn't do any more storyboarding. So the writing and everything, or rather not storyboarding, rather pencil testing.
Yeah.
You know, so all of that stuff. So anyway, they refined it with Huckleberry Hound, and then you know, worked it into the Flintstones, and all of that stuff happened. So, but then prior to, and I'm sorry, I'm going on, but I'm trying to explain why you've got Saturday morning cartoons. Prior to that, Saturday morning were Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
You had all of the TV Westerns for kids. I mean, you had everything from Annie Oakley, you know, Wild Bill Hickok, you know, the Range Rider. You had you know, Roy Rogers, the Lone Ranger. You know,
like Zorro.
All of, you know, Hopalong Cassidy.
You also had a small string of science fiction shows back then. Space Ranger, Tom Corbett, that kind of stuff.
All of that, yes, and all of that there. So that's what Saturday morning, because they were using they were competing with the Saturday morning serial in the theatricals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that started playing around, because the morning that's what you would do for a Saturday show. It was in the morning. It started maybe at 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, you know, and the kids would line up. They'd be doing this since theaters were around. So that's what TV was doing. They're trying to draw the kids in. And so it was the Westerns. That was the most action you could get. And that's what happened. So but once that phase, the Western went down and ended in the 50s, towards the end of the 50s, that's when you had to fill up that time period. And the only way you could do that was doing limited animation in shows. And so that's how you wound up with the Patty Freeling, Hanna-Barbera, the Patty Freeling, which is the Warner Brothers crew with Fritz Freeling. And then also, what was it? And then Filmation.
Yeah,
those were your three major studios for Saturday morning cartoons. They came about because Westerns were out. They had to fill in with something.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, that's the long way. I'm just
that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
absolutely. I just kind of want to hit the chat
knowledge.
real quick. Carl says his was Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Jay Ward Studio. Yeah.
Because every dog should have a boy.
Huh?
And of course,
Bullwinkle was classic, wasn't that? That started out as a primetime show as well, didn't it?
Yes,
Bullwinkle,
it was.
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes, it was Rocky and Bullwinkle, and then the Bullwinkle show.
Yeah.
See, that feels like it would be a primetime show.
Yes,
because they had the jokes that they had in it were kind of geared towards.
Yeah, same thing with Beanie and Cecil that you showed.
Kids
earlier.
could like it, but it would go over their head, you know.
Oh yeah, but the parents would catch it.
Yeah.
Of course, Grant has what's happening. His favorite shows as a kid were Super Friends and Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
As good shows, man.
Yeah. And Carl says Acme Products is not responsible for consumer misuse of their products. We
That's why he
absolve
didn't
ourselves
sue,
of all
Mitch.
blame. The consumer accepts all risk to life and money.
Exactly.
That was a disclaimer, wasn't it? Wasn't it
In
one
fine
of the
print, yeah. In
in the
fine
cards?
print.
Yeah.
Funny.
Johnny Quest and
Yes,
Space Ghost, excellent memories. And yeah, of course, Space Ghost kind of got the axe with that whole cartoons were too violent thing in the 70s, huh?
Yeah, but before that, there was a whole slew of just great superhero cartoons, just oddball stuff. Super Six, Super President, Mighty Mightor, Moby Dick. Had a couple of kids that ran around with him. Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles, Birdman, the Galaxy Trio, just some phenomenal stuff.
Oh yeah.
And don't forget the Archies.
And the Archies were mixed in there too, yeah. And every
We had
year
some
they
Archies
tried
when
a different
we were young.
Archie show. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We had the new Archies when we were younger.
I
Which
think every
is-
generation.
Yeah, they
has
had
a-
like
Which are the
Archie
same as the
mysteries or
old
something.
Archies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and of course I don't know. I think Scooby Doo came out in the 60s,
Yes.
in the
Later,
late 60s,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But in the 80s, there were so many Scooby Doo shows. Oh my
13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
God.
Archie had a Scooby Doo
13
show.
Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
It was
Speed
called like
Buggy.
Archie Mysteries or something like that. And it was
Yes,
I
basically
think I remember
Scooby Doo
Yeah,
because there'd
pretty much
always
that.
be a monster they're chasing. Then at the end, like Archie or someone would like pop the mask off. Oh, it's Old Man Winkle or something.
There
That
was
does
a
sound
great
like an Archie
year.
character.
There was a great year there where they had an Archie show where all of the Archie characters were in a control booth and they turn on different other cartoons that were based off of comic strips. Broomhilda and Dick Tracy and all of the really
Oh,
great,
yeah, that's
funny
right.
classic strips were all at Archie's TV Funhouse, I think it was called. Yeah.
They there was a couple of shows like that. You had one that was called Comic Strips that had, what was it, Karate Cat? I think was one of it. Then they had a Pac-Man show, and what was crazy about the Pac-Man show was it had a Little Rascals cartoon in it. And I can't remember who the other one was. It was kind of like the Little Rascals, but it was something else that was, because if it was a popular sitcom or a popular TV show, they tried to bring it back as a cartoon, like Gilligan Planet.
Yeah.
Adam's Family was a cartoon for a while. Well, there were two Adam's Family cartoons, I think. One in
The original
70s, one in the 90s.
Ghostbusters was on there with Forrest Tucker and Larry Storch with a gorilla, because gorillas sold. So anything with a big
Yeah, we
ape
know.
was money.
They put him on the cover. It did. Yeah. Well, believe it or not, I was having this discussion with somebody the other day. That Ghostbusters, they, of course, that was live action years ago, and then they had a cartoon.
Yeah.
And they tried to capitalize on it after, Ghostbusters came out in what, 85?
Yeah.
86?
84, I think.
Was it 84?
For the very first one. Yeah.
I think so. They were trying to capitalize on it. That's why you have the real Ghostbusters,
The
which is
original
supposed to be.
Ghostbusters,
Yeah. Well, they weren't the real Ghostbusters. You had the real Ghostbusters, which was the movie.
Yeah.
But
Filmation had the first Ghostbusters
Yes.
before the music, before the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was called the Ghostbusters. And
Ghostbusters,
It was very different. It was basically the same plot,
Right.
based on the premise, and that's
Except there's a gorilla.
yeah. But that was Filmation doing that.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one that I liked, was the Filmation one, because you kind of had a set a villains
Yeah.
that were part of that. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I
didn't
saw
really
it,
like
but
the
I
real
don't
Ghostbusters.
remember it. I saw it, but I don't remember.
They actually had
gist of
toys for it and everything,
Mhm.
but they came out with the real Ghostbusters to
Yeah,
kind
to
of
me,
counter
it wasn't
that.
the real.
Yeah.
To me.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing I was telling somebody. I said the reason why it's called the real Ghostbusters, it's not like it's the original Ghostbusters. What they mean by real is the ones that you saw on the movie screen.
Yeah.
That's what they meant by real.
Oh, they had Rambo too. They had Rambo. They had RoboCop.
Yeah.
What is the deal with that? Why you've got these violent movies like RoboCop? Like
See,
I
somebody said,
remember,
It
I
didn't matter
remember my
back then.
mom buying me Terminator toys for Christmas.
Well,
I
that's-
mean-
G.I. Joe, same thing, that they really all sprung out of G.I. Joe. They grasped at any type of macho soldier type character to do. They weren't nearly as violent as those 60s superhero cartoons because they had a psychologist on board watching everything that they did and teaching important lessons to the kids.
And don't forget Popeye.
Popeye, yeah.
Eat your spinach, kids.
If you want violence, you can go there. You've got it. You've got sex and violence because they're fighting.
Popeye was really horny for olive oil. He wasn't he? Like it was like really there for her.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
especially the early black and white ones.
Mhm.
I used to have all those on VHS. I used to have them all.
those early Popeyes are pure New York depression material.
Mhm.
You can feel the grit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
One of
Think
my
about
favorite was
Popeye.
the. Oh, go ahead.
Thing about Popeye was, as a kid, that's how I learned the hard way that cartoons aren't real. Because I was like 4 or 5, and I begged my mom to make me spinach. I thought it could make me strong.
They tricked you.
That was a lie.
And they put his picture on those cans. They're lying to you, kids.
That,
right?
that was the brand that I wanted her to
Yeah.
make too. Was
It's one of the
Popeye.
first big product placements. Yeah.
Who was
Yeah,
Sweet Pea's
spinach board.
daddy? I always wondered that.
He was actually Sweet Pea he was an orphan that was dropped on his doorstep.
Yeah.
In the comic strip. Yes, that's what happened. It was,
Just like the Jeep.
that was depression. That's
Yeah.
depression time. So Sweet Pea was there. So
Well, remember, even Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse had their nephews. That
You
they
never
would
hear
pal
about
around
Mickey's
with.
nephews. Did you say that? Did I
They
talk
got
about
eaten by Tom and Jerry.
Dora and well, but I remember there was 2 of those, though, right? Of the Mickey nephews.
I don't
There
remember
wasn't
them.
3.
2 or 3, yeah. I think
Yeah.
2 at least, yeah.
well, Popeye also, besides Sweet Pea, after years later in
Yep.
the 40s, it says Peepeye, Poopeye, Popeye, and Pipeye. Those were his nephews.
Oh my god!
And he'd go around and teach them important lessons of
Yes.
life, which
I
usually
do
ended up
remember them.
him being slapstick slapped around until he grabbed the spinach and beat whatever the problem was. Exactly.
Well, that whole Gennady Tarkovsky show we were talking about earlier, the Popeye movie actually had Jeep in it. They didn't have Sweet Pea, but they kind of had. They had Jeep in it.
Jeep came first, then came Sweet Pea, I think.
Oh yeah.
And it was that period of time. But that's in the very early. That's the 30s. They did a whole lot of stuff back then.
One of
But
my favorite was the.
Even
the,
Popeye was an accident because he sprung off of Thimble Theater, which was the story of the oil family.
Yeah.
It had olive oil, and the
Castor oil.
lead foil at the time was
Oil.
castor oil. Yeah. They just disappeared when Popeye became so popular.
Oh, thank goodness, because that would make some horrible chicken.
Probably. Yep.
Although I'm not quite sure why Popeyes makes it's
Depression era food.
Yes.
Well, they got out of that. They got out of that lawsuit by saying that Popeye's chicken was actually named after the character from the French Connection,
Popeye Doyle, huh?
Popeye Doyle. Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah.
They used to use his license.
That's what they say.
That's how they skirted out of that lawsuit. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep. Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Yep.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Yep.
Which are still
What
being
was
used
Mickey
today.
Mouse's nephew's names? I don't remember them.
Let me see if I can find them. Hold
Oh,
on.
I don't recall it either.
But I do remember them.
Show.
Everybody had a nephew.
Yeah.
That's back when they wanted to involve kids into the shows.
Yeah.
Morty and Ferdy.
Wow. I couldn't have told you.
I can
don't
see why they
remember
didn't
that at all.
last. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me share it so you can get
The only
a good
Morty
look
that
at
ever
'em.
worked is on Rick and Morty.
There you go. Yeah.
They had those Jughead crowns.
I want to know when did they show up, because I don't remember that as a regular thing. Any of the cartoons.
I think I've seen a couple of
really-
cartoons, the old cartoons with them in it, but I remember them more in the comic books than anything.
Okay.
It's an unproduced animated short that was to have been released in 1938. Was Mickey's Nephews.
There you go.
Okay.
But they had, but that was something that was never released.
Hmm.
When did they
It's
make?
one of those things like Pete. He keeps changing race. Like 1 minute he's a cat, 1 minute he's a rat.
Who?
Pete, the original
Pete.
villain from Steamboat Willie.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Peg Leg Pete.
Peg
Yeah.
Leg Pete. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been around for all this time, and
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, then he was Goofy's neighbor.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he was a dog in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to actually have a peg leg.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
It showed
then
up.
the old Mickey Mouse comic strip, he fought a large, he had a big menacing villain called the Blot that was all draped in black.
Yeah, they showed up in a Mickey Mouse comic back in September 18th, 1932. And it was Mickey Mouse's older sister, Amelia Fieldhouse, leaves her two young sons, Morty and Ferdy, in Mickey's care while going on an unspecified trip. She didn't want a third
That's
one.
what
That's what that
always
was.
She had a completely human name.
Unspecified trip. That's like, I'm going down to the corner store to get some cigarettes. Watch the kids, will ya?
Mickey, watch
See,
him.
all these old cartoons with the nephews and nieces really doesn't make parents look good because they always just drop them off and they stay.
See, back then, parents used to go on adventures.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Right.
No.
Yeah, I was talking
Now
about
we have to
you
work.
thought the spinach was a lie. Parenthood.
yeah, now we have to work. You know, where's my adventure?
So then
Leave my
we
kids
get
somewhere.
into, and we know that the cartoons were geared to market to kids and everything, or for Saturday morning anyway. So when did it get to when we were younger? In the 80s, they were basic. What we were told were they were commercials for toys.
Yeah.
Is that really the is
Yeah.
that the truth, or is it?
Well, there's a thing about that. I was working on Strawberry Shortcake,
Ooh.
back in '82. So they had already been doing that for TV specials. So I was working on the Strawberry Shortcake's housewarming surprise, and you had like 15 different dolls that you're introducing, in the show. And so that's the thing that
Good
happened.
point.
You have that, and then you also have He-Man and Sheer. I mean, basically, it's kind of like, how do you do something like Conan the Barbarian, but because of the success of Star Wars figurines, how do you get something where boys will play with dolls and figures? I mean, G.I. Joe is starting at that point too.
Yeah.
But it's really with the TV series of all these various characters where you have a fantasy situation, and She-Ra comes off of it as an offshoot of the He-Man series. And
Right,
but
yeah.
they're all basically stories that it sort of aids to help your kids' imagination as to how to play with these toys.
Right.
Right. Yep.
This is how you do it.
And those He-Man toys were durable as well, just
Yep.
like
No,
the Playmate
no, they
Yep.
weren't.
Ninja. Maybe not quite as much, but
That
they
poor
were.
Skeletor, his head flapped up and down because he had
Yeah.
a big hole right there because
Okay.
he had a rubber head.
Oh yeah, the rubber head.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, that
There's,
depends. That depended too, because there were ones that were plastic head too. Because I remember the dog getting a hold of them and chewing it off. So I don't know when that transition happened, because I remember the rubber head, but I also remember the hard plastic heads.
Maybe in
'Cause
the
I
second or third
Mostly,
wave.
I remember the marred face of one of them after a dog got a hold of it.
There's a great documentary on Netflix that goes over the history of He-Man.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
pretty-
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Toys
cool
that made
because-
us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had an episode, but this was more drawn out, and it's funny because basically how they made He-Man was, the figures, they had the idea, but like how they made the figures was like they made the figure of He-Man, and he looked just like Conan, like with the fur and everything. So they ripped that off. It's like, okay, and then they were like, okay,
I
we
think
need
they
to
lost the
write
rights,
something.
didn't they? I think it was supposed to be Conan at first.
No, it's supposed to be Star Wars. Then like the president was like, Star Wars will never sell.
Little did he know.
Then they learned, yeah.
Well,
Well,
There were a
well, they
lot of
came up
people
with-
that passed up on
then
Star
we're going to
Wars.
go down here to
in the
this little
development
company,
stages,
Kenner,
yeah.
that's never going to be anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And how they did Battle Cat was there, like, okay, let's have him ride something. So they just grabbed a tiger toy from another line they had and just
Big
put
Jim
him on.
or something. It was like a Big Jim toy.
Something like that.
It could be, yeah.
I can't
yeah.
remember what
Big
it.
Jim.
Yeah. And they're like, here, just set him on top of there. And it was,
Yeah.
that was
You
it.
painted him
Make
green.
it wild. Give it a fantasy look. Paint it green.
And
Connie
when they
says-
did the oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Connie says Tom and Jerry and Flintstones was a big one for me, and of course the Smurfs. Boy, did I have a Smurf figure collection. Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was Smurferific.
Totally
Probably.
Smurferific. Smurferific.
And when they did they came out with the play set of a Castle Grayskull.
Mhm.
The guy that designed it made the door too small, so none of the figures can fit in. The executives were like, could you redo this to make them fit in? And the guy was like, oh no, just turn them sideways, and have them fit in.
Here's
And
how
you're
they go, kid.
That's
That's
not
how
how,
I come
how
home
boys
after
play.
work.
Classic.
Let's just dive in.
Yeah, I'm just like, ugh.
So when you were doing the cartoons, did they try to make like a product placement, or were there like certain signs or something? I know you could have like a Pepsi in like a He-Man thing, but like
There was no product placement back then. That's a live action thing.
yeah.
That happened. But for animation, the whole thing was a commercial.
Right.
So and why would you put something that you weren't selling in there? I mean,
Right. Well-
if you note, you'll see so many shows, so many scenes had all the characters in there. At least 3 to 4 characters would be in one scene, and so you're trying. It was a constant, a choreography of how do you have a log jam of all these characters that need to be done, put into each show.
Mhm.
So, that's but product placement that wasn't the thing. You'd spell. I mean, it wasn't like you were. It was Mattel was it Mattel or Hasbro? It was Hasbro that was doing He-Man.
Mattel.
It was
Mattel.
Okay. I keep forgetting. Mattel for me are guns. Mattel, of the 1950s. Those cap guns, things of that sort.
Hasbro was G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
The thing about about those various shows, is that they, as I said, it wasn't like you were doing, the Flintstones with the cigarette smoking, or anything where you were there weren't any
Imagine
other
Skeletor.
products.
Well,
being-
no, yeah. I guess product placement was kind of it wasn't really. But I mean,
Well,
like,
I
did you
think
have
they
to
were
put a certain
clamping-
amount of. Yeah, go ahead.
By that point, they were clamping down on advertising anyway. That's why the shows turned into entire large toy commercials.
I think he was talking about
Because
the
they were
toys.
being real careful about
Yeah,
what
I mean, like-
advertising was going where by that point as well.
Like if they were pushing for a new toy or something, you'd have to have that character in
Oh,
so
yes.
many scenes
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Is what
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Oh yeah.
Product placement. It wasn't
Like-
the best description.
Yeah.
Like the episode with Mossman. Well, this is our idea to have something stinky
Yeah.
the kids will love. Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Oh.
Funkor, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they killed off Optimus Prime. Was to introduce new toys.
That was a sad day, Mitch.
Well, the
Sad,
first
sad
set
day.
of Transformer toys were incredible and mostly metal, die-cast metal.
I
And,
remember.
and then they were replaced real quickly with plastic because
Well, you had
not only
dolls
was
and
it
you had-
cheaper, but it was less lethal.
Mhm.
you had dolls and you had GI Joes and everything. But one thing that I noticed as far as the cartoons were concerned, they weren't geared to this be before the 80s. Were they geared to where this is a girl's cartoon, this is a boy's cartoon?
No.
Because in the 80s we had that,
Oh yeah,
two-
it was abundant. Yeah,
yeah,
My Little
No.
Pony was for girls.
Yeah.
I think Care Bears was like the only one where it was for both.
for both, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, actually, prior to that, most of the cartoons were anthropomorphic.
yeah.
So therefore it wasn't, you still had Popeye, but Popeye has a certain amount of sex appeal to gals. I mean, You
I
know,
love those forearms.
it was just level.
They love the squinty eye.
Well, he wouldn't take no crap. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And
Or they were a lot of the '60s cartoons were general audience cartoons. Space Ghost had a little boy and a little girl and a little monkey that traveled
Right.
with him. Herculoids was an entire family that had a zoo, a group of exotic alien animals that they protected their home planet with.
Yeah. It was geared to having everybody integral to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't aimed at just this. You know, girls will like this, boys will like that.
That came through in the '80s.
Yeah, and that comes from toys.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's when they split it up that way, just purely as a mercenary thing. You know.
I read that She-Ra was actually the death of He-Man. Spinning that off. That's what I read the other day.
I always thought she was a spinoff. So.
But it was always that's what I always remembered as a spinoff. I had the She-Ra toys too.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
I worked on both at the same time in the same season. So you know where is that going from? You know, I mean, it's kind of like
it's probably fake news. How people want to say things about other things. You know,
they weren't there.
That girl come in and spoiled it for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? No.
Nobody felt. I know when we were younger, that didn't feel that way. That was just another He-Man show.
Yeah,
You know,
I like She-Ra is equally the new. She-Ra,
you had your
not so
Orko character in She-Ra. I can't remember what her Madam something, right? I can't remember what her name was. You had your Madam what? Crag? What? Madam Raz? I don't know, the witch. Look, it's been it's been a long time. So, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, they tried. But that's what I said. You had your Rainbow Bright. You had your Strawberry Shortcake. You had Cabbage Patch Kids. Cabbage Patch Kids was a doll though before it was a cartoon.
It was a huge doll line. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was super popular.
I didn't care. I had one anyway. But you had all. But they seem to. When I was looking back on cartoons over the years, there seemed to be that division in the 80s. This is a boys cartoon. Not all of them, but some of them. Whereas you had the Scooby-Doo dynamic where you had an animal and then a bunch of kids that followed the animal around.
Yeah. And you had two males, two females, and a dog.
Yeah.
Or a car, or
a dune buggy, or a ghost
in a van.
Or a Captain Caveman.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of speculation on what happened there.
Well, that's where the magic ride comes.
Well, I think what's interesting about that is that you watch that, now they've come up with the way Velma is, the way Daphne is, the way Fred is. They made Fred an idiot. I don't know why they decided to take Fred to make him this track crazy moron or whatever.
It was the live action
jaw
Freddie Prinze that started that.
Which was tongue in
cheek. Depends upon the writers too, because sometimes they're more serious than others, and their personalities swap around a little bit.
But I mean, really, your standout personalities were Shaggy and Scooby. Those were
they were set in stone. Yeah. Stoner. Yeah. So they were set in Stoner actually. Well, then
but those were kind of templates for when you had a Jabberjaw and the Dune Buggy.
But even Scooby-Doo was patterned after Toby Gillis, Moby Gillis.
Yeah.
Dobie Gillis.
Yes. It was Maynard.
Yeah. Maynard G. Krebs.
Shaggy was after Maynard G. Krebs,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bob Denver.
Yeah.
Bob Denver.
Yeah. So what's up, Roland? What's up, guys?
Hello.
I saw those mostly on Boomerang after I was born in '93. Biggest cartoons for me, either Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Power Rangers, any season at the time, or Beyblade.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, so you were born in the year Power Rangers started too. So.
Well, the live action. I heard something today that blames those live action shows on Saved by the Bell.
That's a weird theory.
Well, the thought was
they were both shot in Canada, weren't they?
I don't know. Was Saved by the Bell shot? No, I think it was shot.
No, Saved was shot in L.A.
Yeah, I don't
I just figured they were trying to save money. They didn't want everybody sitting around drawing all
That's
the time.
what I heard. Yeah,
Well, they had
that's what I
American
heard.
Kids, and then they took all the Die Ranger footage from the older whatever they
Super
were called.
Saiyan.
Yes. No.
Before
that's
that, you had the
Dragon Ball.
Shazam
Super Saiyan.
ISIS shows. You had
Sentai.
yeah.
Super Sentai.
Sentai.
I was close.
Space. What was it? Space, not Space Arc. Oh, they had a Space Rangers show. They had Scotty in it for a while. I can't remember the exact name of it, but they had live action shows before those shows sprung up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Before Power Rangers sprung up.
Land of the Lost. Yeah.
Land of the Lost.
Land of the
Yeah,
Lost,
there you go.
that.
That's a big one. And
I
Land of
watched
the
that on
Lost.
Saturday morning.
Land of the Lost
It
was
was.
awesome in their later years too, because they got a lot of science fiction elements brought into that show that were really
Yeah.
crazy.
With the
I
lizard.
Well,
remember
there was
loving that show. Slee Stacks.
There was
Sleeve
a,
stacks, yes.
Slee Stacks.
Somebody, I have friends with somebody on Facebook. Sleeve stack. I'm like, I wonder how many people get that. It's
well, you had,
and
you
not
had
from Will Ferrell.
the Captain Marvel Shazam show.
Yeah,
Oh
Filmation
yeah,
ISIS as
and
well. Yeah.
ISIS. You know, you had those.
Power of Shazam Hour or something like that. Right?
Mhm.
oh yeah,
Like that.
oh yeah. It's been around. It's been around for years.
Yeah.
And they had that. They really had that out because Hulk was real popular there for a couple of years. The Bill
And
Bixby,
ISIS, I think,
Lou
was
Ferrigno Hulk. Linda Carter was Wonder Woman during prime time during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you said Shazam, and that made me think of there was a cartoon, Hero High.
Yeah.
Because is that what
There
it
was a
called?
movie called Hero High.
Yeah.
There
Kurt
was
Russell was lead in that.
No,
that's
Sky.
Sky
That was
High.
Sky High.
Sky was that was Sky
No,
High.
Sky
Okay.
High, but I think Hero High was basically the same thing. It was the same thing. It was way
Mhm.
before it. But
Only
they
animated.
had Hero High, and they mixed it with Shazam,
Did they?
which was
Shazam.
crazy. And
I
they had a
remember.
little bit of live action play in that too. But they were doing that a lot with the mix. Like I said, like the Pac-Man and Little Rascals, they were mixing them a lot. You always have
Oh, and
those
the
shows.
Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Mm.
They did
Yeah.
the live action with Captain Lou Albano and the guy that played Luigi.
And
Yeah,
and-
that's right.
I can't
Whoever
remember
he
his
was.
name. I can't remember his name.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw that show, I was like,
It was awesome.
"This isn't Mario and Luigi. What the hell?"
But you know what? It became Mario.
It was
Yeah.
for a good year.
So how
And
many
I think
episodes?
Link came on afterwards.
Link came on Fridays.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It was you'd have the advertisement for you for it all Monday through Thursday. They'd come on and say, just watch this preview of the Legends of Zelda, and then they
Yeah.
show the preview, and the Friday episode would just be nothing but Legend of Zelda. That was when I didn't watch it.
That's one of those properties where
I
I've
wanted
always
Super Mario. I
wanted to
didn't
like.
want that, huh?
That's one of those properties where I've always wanted to like. I just never got into it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I tell you what, let's take a couple of bumps. Then we're going to talk about what might have killed Saturday morning cartoons. So there's a lot of theories and there's a lot of factors. So we'll be right back after these messages. We'll be right back.
Word from our sponsors.
Eager Raven returns to Kickstarter in its first trade paperback, collecting issues 1 through 4 in one full-color volume. Eager Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, is the story of a unicorn princess exiled into the mortal realm after she is betrayed by her elf prince husband-to-be. Dragons overtake her kingdom, and how she trains to become a knight with the help of an unusual trio of blacksmiths. It's a mature audience telling of the classic hero's journey with a soap opera twist. So check out Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, Volume 1 today.
Oswald is the greatest sorcerer of our time. He lives in New York City, and he happens to be a mouse. And he has serious evil goblin problems. In this 4-issue epic adventure, Oswald finds himself rescuing a traveling warrior gnome, Daphne, who seeks revenge on an evil goblin who murdered his family. A goblin that now lives with one of Oswald's neighbors, a giant spider. What will Oswald and his newfound friend, Daphne, do? Find out in the pages of It Broke Free and Couldn't Read, now on Kickstarter.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin to the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding? with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
All right. Just want to remind you to save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order using coupon code RAGIN10. And if you want to ask us a question or have a comment for us to address on the show, have an idea for a topic you want us to talk about, email us at raginabc@gmail.com. Again, there's no such thing as dumb questions, but our answers might be. All right.
And I want to thank you guys for starting that promotion the day after I buy Gemini mailers.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that's for next time. See, that's how you do that. And look, so anyway, so there's, of course, we kind of have this idea, maybe this tunnel vision, that we think one thing killed off a fad or killed off a certain point of time. But Saturday morning cartoons kind of got it from all angles. There's let's talk with one is cable.
Mm-hmm.
Cable started to come in and really.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
As soon as Nickelodeon Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon started producing their own cartoons, and they were anytime, you didn't have to wait until Saturday morning. And that is what killed that, because you reach a certain point where the shows are just not economical enough. There just wasn't enough money in the for the broadcast rights for producers to do anything without merchandising. But then once cable started with their own producer, because that's a completely different financial production budgets. They weren't covered by the union. Whereas,
well, you also had a lot of regulations for Saturday morning at that point coming down as far as educational content goes.
Yes.
And so a lot of those big networks just decided to drop animation altogether and go to live action shows.
Yes.
Which is pretty much what they're left with now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big angry.
You still had the Kids WB that hung on for a long time doing Saturday morning programming and did some phenomenal cartoons that like nobody ever saw. Legion of Superheroes, the Men in Black cartoon was amazing.
Yeah.
Just great stuff.
PBS did stuff, it was doing stuff for Saturday morning, but it was all educational stuff. And, and so that was a completely different thing. But they had, it was a certain level of storytelling that, teenager, anybody who is approaching puberty will not like, so that's, it had, what's the monkey?
Curious George?
Curious George. And they were running those shows in that for decades, for a long time, with and whole other, more along the lines of what offshoots of children's books.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that's what their focus was.
But there's like a 3-hour requirement from networks that they had to have I think it was 3 hours of educational television.
Yeah,
that got slammed to Saturday mornings. You still see it now when you if you turn on any of the networks on Saturday morning, you see the little I/E up in the corner. That's their notation for, hey, this is the educational programming filling our federal requirement. Yeah.
It's funny how they regulated it to Saturday mornings.
Well, that's
Facebook industry.
Well, actually, what they did was they pulled it. You put it all together, and you do that. You had to have 3 hours stretched across the week, because you're talking about this is a public license, that on air, not cable, but on air, which is really mandated that you should be able to get network or television for free in some way, shape, or form as a communication situation. So, but as part of the licensing, you need to be you have to do 3 hours of educational material stretched across the 7-day week.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where it is, at what time of day it is.
All right. What were you going to say, Jared?
I was gonna say, with the '90s coming in, the dawn of the internet. You were, especially there in the mid '90s to late '90s, you were able to stream anything you wanted. Really, not stream, but download anything you want.
Mhm.
So.
Also, you had the advent of home media too.
I was going to say, thank goodness for DVDs, because now all of the Hanna-Barbera material is all pretty much everything that Hanna-Barbera did is available. A lot of it, at least, is available in sets. You can just order them.
Technology in general, yeah.
Toth
really hit a
cartoons.
boom.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Cartoon Network was supposed to be when it started. Was all the older cartoons with your Hanna-Barbera cartoons, your Looney Tunes.
And then that's what Boomerang was supposed to be once Cartoon Network started running original programming. That didn't last long either.
That didn't last.
They jumped
so now
into
they could
old
do
Cartoon
Saturday morning
Network stuff.
cartoons, and they might actually do something instead of showing SpongeBob for them.
Me TV, the retro TV channels run a Saturday morning programming block of cartoons. The old Popeye shows, the old Tom and Jerry shows are up there because they're not afraid to deal with the content violence. The majority of those are unedited up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's great to see old Popeye stuff where he's just whacking the hell out of Pluto, and explosions, Warner Brothers explosions that were there. I mean, it just you just are. It's fun watching that material.
Nothing funnier than Daffy grabbing up all of his feathers, going, "Luckily, I keep these all counted just for such occasion."
I thought that was Froghorn Leghorn.
Both of them did that.
I think that was kind of
it's mostly Daffy. Whenever he got shot and was naked, he just run around, pick them all up. Luckily, I keep these counted for just such an occasion.
One of the great things about theatrical cartoons was that they weren't. You didn't see them every day. It was, like maybe there would be like 20, Warner Brothers throughout the entire year. And you wouldn't say they'd recycle gags, but from, it'd be 1941 and you wouldn't use that gag until 1946,
Sometimes they'd recycle whole scripts.
Yeah.
There's a number of cartoons that you've seen doubles of that are real early, like back when Daffy was at his daffiest during the Clampett age, when he was jumping around yelling wahoo, wahoo, wahoo.
Yeah. And so that, but you didn't see them bumped up against each other. They were still fresh.
Yeah.
There's a different things about what kills cartoons is the fact that there are too many of them, and they're all doing the same stuff.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
That's one of the downfalls with the DVD collections. You get to learn the formula real fast after you see a half a dozen of them in a row.
Yeah.
Well, correction. If you get the Fleischer Paramount Superman cartoons.
Those are great.
Well, that's the exception to the rule right there. Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah, just incredible. Yeah.
They still hold up too. They're still entertaining.
And that's the thing, is that it is the pacing. It's your setup, your development, and that Popeye is going to come in. But the thing is, formula, but it's done so well.
Yes.
It's chocolate cake, and it's going to taste good because it was done properly. And there are only so many of them.
I want some cake, man.
Facebook user, I claim the Fifth Amendment. And I will no comment on that. He asked if I was DB Cooper.
Yeah, I see him.
No comment.
Donna says having to be at work on Saturday morning is what kills Saturday morning cartoons for me.
Yes.
Yeah, that would do it. That would
you look out and find a Monday through Friday gig.
Yeah.
Until the VCR was invented. Yeah.
So we looked at cable and we kind of touched on the angry parent that decided that that was a big part of killing the Saturday morning cartoon because of what we talked about, the regulation on the 3 hour educational
Block,
TV. There
yeah.
was something that happened in the 90s, so I can't remember. It was a bunch of letters. I can't remember what it was. That some type of regulation. It might have been the 3 hour thing that they did.
Well, that had been going on since the 60s.
That had been going on.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had
It started, in the 60s. There were some people that were just so outraged, and one in particular, one woman in particular, I can't remember her name, but she was the one who led this fight all the way through, and it really screwed everything up. I've got manuals from a little booklet from Filmation, which had all of these stupid rules as to what you couldn't do because the network censors wouldn't allow you to do bug eyes. You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't be aggressive. You couldn't wave something. This is in the 70s, the early 70s kind of material. And all of that stuff, because people are saying, okay, well, we got to blame stuff on something for why we as a society can't treat our families correctly. We can't raise our kids correctly. Yeah. It's not our parents' fault. It's not the adults' fault. It's the damn liberals.
Well, the thing was, they got trying to market to a 6-year-old, targeting a 6-year-old to buy something was one of their excuses. And it's like, but the 6-year-old doesn't have any money.
Yeah.
He just runs to mom and dad.
Yeah.
I mean, my folks have said, don't scream about buying stuff there. So I learned early to say, walk by something and say, you know what, I really don't want that. And I get it.
Yeah.
The irony of that concept of trying to sell stuff to kids, and most of these parents, I'm sure, were watching sports that like every 5 seconds there's a sponsor or an ad.
Yep.
They're watching all this other stuff that has a whole bunch of ads in it, but apparently that's okay. But doing it to kids is when the kids aren't the ones buying it.
What gets me is, you might have been marketing to me, but it was kind of a quid pro quo, right? I mean, you were marketing me to buy something. I was enjoying what you were giving me. I don't see the problem. Problem here.
Yeah, like John said, you can choose to not buy it.
Yeah.
I've only learned that as an adult, though.
Right.
As a kid, I wanted it all.
Yep.
Well, some of the most entertaining commercials are for it used to be for cereals.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're some of the most entertaining ones are those. They're for cartoons. Watch the Peels Brothers cartoons from the early 1950s. There's a whole bunch on YouTube. It's Bert and Harry Peel, and it was Ballantine beer, and it was a local New York City beer thing, and it's Bob and Ray, the comedy team of Bob and Ray, and they do incredible ads. It's a monologue that is so dry, and yet it's so funny, and they they would do sequential commercials. About they'll be developing stuff, and they would be. I think they were sponsored. They sponsored like the Brooklyn Dodgers or the New York Yankees, or the New York Giants back then, and they were great. There you go. Okay, yeah, the Peel Brothers.
They didn't have, and we can't really. I can't get sound.
You can't do that.
Anyway, so, but this kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah. They're pitching each other like they're very sophisticated, but they are funny like crazy. Yeah, the target audience there.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, I mean that's just the fact of life. But you get what they wouldn't be able to do it if it didn't appeal to you in some form.
Yeah.
Anyway, one way or another. Another thing that gets the blame for it is video games. Now, the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, PlayStation, things like that. But I think that's vague because those things were still. Let's see, Nintendo came out in '88 for us. And then you had other electronic games before that. You had 88, 89 was Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and you look at all through the 90s, you still had Saturday morning cartoons. They were going strong. You had your, let's see, I remember X-Men. Fox Kids used to have a huge block.
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Yep.
X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman.
See, for me, there's a lot of
Batman was in the afternoon for me.
Yeah, Batman was in the afternoon. He-Man was
Batman
in
the animated.
afternoon.
Yeah,
They played them here. They also played them on Saturday mornings. I remember.
I think there was a time when they moved it to Saturday mornings.
I think that's when they
Maybe
changed
the New Adventures?
changed Robin. Yeah, the New Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
I think that's when it was WB.
but then here's one that I heard was Divorce. Divorce is on Saturday morning cartoons.
How does
Wow.
that work?
Well, because during the weekend you're traded off to another parent, so there wasn't any time to watch Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, that was that long drive.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty long drive.
I know nothing about it, but
but most of the times the kids are going with to spend the weekend at their dads. Their dads are probably watching cartoons with them. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Well,
So
they
look at
come up in the morning on Saturday morning.
Or Dad set him in front of the TV and then went and slept it off
Yeah.
so what do you say?
until the afternoon. Yeah.
What's the zaniest cartoon that you can remember, Mitch?
From Saturday morning?
Yeah, sure.
I can't remember from Saturday morning. Well, you know what? I
It's
did
hard.
bring
I
this
get
up.
mixed up because I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Well, I did bring this up. If anyone watching remembers Project GKR, that was very zany. I remember.
Yeah, I
Saturday
looked this
morning.
up. So what was the premise of this? Because it looked like kind of a jumble of stuff.
It was like it's in the future, and apparently they've brought dinosaurs back, but the dinosaurs are like sentient human beings almost. And there's this like corporate dictator that rules the world, and he's creating an army of super soldiers called GKRs, and
I
one
do
of them
not remember that.
and it only lasted like one season, and like one of them apparently was flawed, so he like throws it away, and that's what that little guy with the big eyes at the bottom is. He's like
I'd throw them away too.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. It's
what
like they're
looks
trying to.
a Phineas
I mean,
and
teams
Ferb
up with these
character.
freedom fighters, and he tries to
Huh.
Save the world. It was zany and kind of odd at the same time.
The girl
I loved
looked
it
cool.
because I love kind of bizarre, strange things.
And you said
Yeah,
this
that's
was
the
Doug
bad guy.
Napier?
That is definitely the '90s. You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug TenNapel co-created it, and Billy West plays the main character, Geeker,
Okay.
which is play off the phrase GKR.
Yeah. Huh.
Billy West got
strange.
around, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So about you, Rady? What do you think of the zaniest
Early
cartoon?
morning. Well, over on Sunday Funnies, we ran Lidsville a week or so ago by Sid and Marty Croft. Sid and Marty Croft did a whole bunch of like puppet guys in rubber suit shows, but the big one for me growing up was Banana Split, which was a combination for animal creatures, guys in costumes that were a rock and roll band, of course, because everybody was a rock and roll band back then.
As you do.
Interspersed with all sorts of other little shorts, live action shorts and cartoon shorts. There's Three Musketeers, I think, was in that an animated Three Musketeers show. Stranded, like Robinson Crusoe type strip or series was on their live action. There's a couple of other cartoons as well that they showed between doing little zany stunts and stuff.
What was that one Animaniacs where there was a weird character who was a real geek?
Animaniacs. I don't remember a real geek.
Well,
I
depends on
remember the mad
on what he
scientist.
means by geek.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Define geek, Carl.
How about you, John?
Well, when I was growing up, I mean, to me, I enjoyed as a kid. It was Tom Terrific, but the weirdest one that I ever worked
Freakazoid.
on was Turbo Teen.
Oh, Freakazoid. Okay.
What was it, John? You said
Turbo.
Turbo Teen.
Huh.
That's
It's
the weirdest one that I worked on.
It's about a kid who became a car.
Yeah, it turns into a car. You know.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
Found Footage Fest did an episode.
Wasn't there like
on
a
that.
live action show with a man that did that too?
No, it's animated. The whole thing is that he turns into a car. He's a guy who gets turned into a. Oh, what? There he goes. Oh, now watch where the stick shift is.
Oh no!
Yes. There's junk in the trunk.
What is the thought behind that?
This must have came on back to back with GoBots.
Knight Rider
Yeah.
probably had some influence on that. Monster
I thought
trucks.
he's driving up the
How many
stairs.
episodes was it?
13.
I didn't think it got too far.
No, but a lot of people who have seen it never forget it.
Oh yeah.
I will
Yeah.
never forget it now.
Yeah. No, but I would say I wish there was more of it. The funnest cartoon I ever saw really is Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs.
Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs. Was that a?
As opposed to Snow White.
Yeah,
Coal Black
and it was done in the 1940s. And if you can find it on there, I mean, it is one of the funniest ones. It really, all those characters look like 90s rappers now. They all look like what's his name? He was.
Yeah, that one might. Okay, the Seven Dwarfs. Yeah, might not show that one.
Yeah.
That might
You
actually
know what?
have.
Everybody, every person that has been who is an animator, who is whether it be it doesn't matter what skin tone color you are. It is the funniest thing, and it will always get just huge laughs just because of the personality. You got to watch it. You got to see it, and it's
on YouTube. It's but you got to look for Seven SEEBEN.
Yes, S is seven. Yeah, and the seven SEBBEN.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
Definitely a product of its time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I may be old, but I do have a certain kind of sense of humor. That
Had me
So,
with the
Jared, how
stick
about
then.
you?
Well, I think the zaniest. It was kind of a hybrid of the live action and cartoon. It was called Kid Video. It was like this group of kids in the real world that they go figure had a band, but they were all different kids. Like one was a jock, one was a nerd, one was the pretty girl that everyone liked, and they got transported into a punk cartoon world. And like the saying on there was like see you on the flip side, because the flip side is where they went to. So
I have been watching to prepare for tonight. I've been watching 80s intros for kids cartoons, and that was one of them.
It's so catchy.
Yeah. And what was the deal though? Because there was like a lot of those where you had that one, you had Dungeons and Dragons,
which was similar.
Although those weren't real people, but
no, but it was similar concept.
was
They get
the same
transported into
concept.
another world.
But then you had what was it, Captain N?
Yeah,
It
Captain
was
Nintendo,
Nintendo's.
hanging around Simon Belmont from Castlevania and some other anagrams or whatever from other video games.
It's kind of like that.
I think Hubert was on there.
Speaking of which, you talk about product placement. I never saw this cartoon. It just came, but it was called Ruby, and it was a Rubik's Cube.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Mhm.
I've heard of that.
What? I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, Jared, what was that show called?
Kid Video. Kid with 2 D's.
That's why I can't find it.
Double D Video.
Yeah, I can't find.
It's on YouTube.
It's on there. It's on there.
It's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
you can find that one.
You can find anything on YouTube.
Oh,
Sadly, it's one of those that didn't really the what do you call it? The rights to mass produce it years and years till now was kind of like lost in the limbo because people owned it, people didn't own it, so it just kind of faded. So there's no good quality of it anywhere. And there's a lot of shows like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Roland wants to know best cartoon theme song.
Thundercats.
Ninja
Really?
Turtles.
Huh?
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles?
Or
Which was written by Chuck Lorre.
I was
Lore.
mind blown when I found
Chuck
that
Lorre or
out.
is it Lorre?
Lore.
Lore?
I thought it was lore.
I don't
It could
know.
be
L-O-R-R-E.
Lore.
It's spelled like Peter Lorre, so I just guess that's what I always said it.
Best opening music though, Johnny Quest first season. Yeah,
Best
phenomenal orchestration. Yeah,
Best cartoon theme song, Popeye the Sailor Man.
Oh yeah.
gotcha. Yeah,
Oh, DuckTales has to be in there somewhere too. It's like a Huey Lewis in the news type sound, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was always partial to Inspector Gadget. Because it used all sorts of different the sirens and everything in there. So, so anyway, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because it's getting to be about that time. John, tell us where we can find you.
Well, you can find me on Kickstarter right now.
There you go.
I'll be spending most of my time on that. Check out it's on Kickstarter. It's Bloodwing Angel Chronicles by me, and I'm also on YouTube. I have a channel. I'm up to 1,900 subscribers. I guess people are not, they're just dropping out or just forgetting that they have me. But it's a lot of educational material on it for animation and all kinds of stuff. And but you're also on Facebook and on Twitter. That's Mystery John.
All right, awesome. Jared?
You can find me on Facebook, Jared Lockhart 80. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's
sorry.
Mitch.
I'm not good on outros.
There were
yeah, right.
79.
Well, everybody.
That's Jared out.
There were 79 Jared Lockharts that got there before you.
Yeah,
There were, yeah. I'm the good-looking one.
That's
There
what
you
that
go.
is. There you go. That's right. Keep hope
That's
alive.
for you, ladies.
Mitch,
We just
how
lost
can
some
we
viewers.
find you? As if we don't know.
We have no viewers. Oh no. You can find me at Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios, where you can find my website, my online comics, and my apparel store. I just got the Gemini mailers today, although I missed the Ragin promotion by one day. So I'll start mailing out the Southern Gothic trade for my backers, and then after that, whoever wants to buy one can buy one.
Right.
Cool.
Randy.
You can find me on Facebook if you look hard enough. You can always contact me at thezimcast@gmail.com. But most importantly, you can find me here on the Indie Comics Network tomorrow night, 8 p.m. for the Zimcast, Friday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Comics by Night, and also Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. for Sunday Funnies. Plus, I'm starting to put up little tutorials now on cartooning and drawing. That's also available on the Indie Comics Network, so you can check those out as well. There's a basics for cartooning up there now, and a how to draw hot stuff, because hot stuff is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Coming soon, SpongeBob, how to draw hands. There's all sorts of stuff on the way. It'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
ZB Cooper.
ZB Cooper. There you go.
All right. Of course, I'm C Michael Lanning, and I'll be back here next week with another Dispatches from Outside the Box. We'll be finishing out our silly September shows with clowns, which will also segue into our terror shows coming up in October. So check that out. Beginning, we'll
They're
start with happy
synonymous, clowns and terror.
and then we're going to end up with scary clowns. Well, yeah, I mean, name something. I'm sure there is, so don't hold me to this, but name something else that can elicit joy and terror.
Teddy bears.
Serial
See,
killers.
I knew you were going to say something.
Large suckers.
Large suckers.
All right, and before we go, I want to if you see Indie Rush, it's on our network, on YouTube or on
Run.
Facebook.
No.
Make sure, don't run to it, because
to
that
it.
way we're trying to get the word out on as many campaigns as we possibly can. Check it out, and maybe there's going to be something on there that you're going to like. I promise you. And if you do like it, share it. Let other people know about it. So, and with that, let's say good night.
Good night.
Take care, everybody.
And that's the
So
way
what do
the
you call this mess? I mean, masterpiece.
This is Pastor, the giant robot from my solo show that opens tomorrow.
What?
You remember you're the guest of honor?
Yeah, you can count on me, Pasto. I'll be there.
I'm counting on you. Look, and here's your ticket.
It's very big for a ticket. But wow, I love these bubble letters.
Yeah, Brescio did the bubble letters.
Oh, well, they're really cool.
I know, but honestly, I did have a little inspiration. Here, have some Criddle glitter.
Over.